A 7-game homestand continues for the RoughRiders tonight against the Midland Rockhounds, and joining us on the RoughRiders pregame show is right-handed pitcher Kyle Lotzkar. Kyle, thanks so much for joining us. Looking at your numbers over the course of the season, first half you had an ERA of 6.94. Now in the second half it's dropped all the way to a 1.1 ERA since the second half began. Was there a moment specifically when things fell into place for you, or did you work your way into your current rhythm?
Yeah, there was a point. I think I was struggling a lot in the first half, going back and forth as a starter and a reliever. And basically I was struggling with my control. And what ended up happening was I really just tried to control the ball too much and tried to control the outcome too much, that I was just not finishing my pitches. So I didn't have a lot of life on my fastball, and I wasn't throwing strikes. So basically what I did in the second half was just not try to control as much, even though I'm basically just didn't focus on throwing strikes as much, just let the ball go a little bit more and have a little bit more life on my fastball. I'm still struggling a little bit with walks, but I think it's just a focus thing.
Kyle Lotzkar joining us on the RoughRiders pregame show. Kyle, a good run out of the bullpen as of late. No runs allowed in 6 of his last 9 games. Physically, how would you feel? Would you say shoulder, arm, everything?
Yeah, it's the best I've felt. It's the first I've made it into a season so far. This is like my 7th season, and I haven't made it through a full one yet, so without being injured. So it's the best I've felt for sure, and I still feel really good. And even though we've played 20-something games in a row, I still feel like I could go out and throw every day.
That ties into another question that I wanted to ask. Of course, given your injury history, can you point to a time when you've felt this good in your career, or is this it?
Yeah, this is probably it. I'd say before all the surgeries, my elbow surgeries and stuff, I probably felt this good. That was back in high school. So
looking at the calendar of the season right now, we're really in the dog days. When this late July run hits, what are some things that you do to stay fresh, avoid fatigue, and keep things going?
I think at this point, because it's just I've been playing baseball for 6 months straight almost since spring training in February. I think you kind of got to find time to get away from the game too. Actually, as much as you can when you get, even when you're at the field, just playing cards, hanging out with your teammates, go to a movie, especially hanging out with your family and talking to your family. You just got to get your mind off the game, because otherwise it just kind of, it wears you down mentally, and then, physically things start going too.
I know there's still 1 month left in the season, but looking at how you've developed as a player this year, what is the one aspect of your game that you're the happiest with as far as what's changed and improved?
It's a good question. I think, my biggest goal coming into the season was to stay healthy the whole season. And I think a big part of that was like my routine, and I've stuck to my routine the whole season. Whereas like I can think back to like last year and the year before, I started with a routine, and then I'd get a little nagging injury, and then I'd stop. I'd take things out of my routine, even because it hurt a little bit, or I'd have a little low back injury, so I'd stop doing certain lifts. Whereas now I know, I still got to go through the routine, even if things hurt a little bit, get some treatment, and I think that's the biggest thing for me, is just doing the same thing I did at the beginning of the year, and I'm still doing it now.
Kyle Lotzkar with us on the RoughRiders pregame show. Looking at the roster, Kyle, you're one of a dwindling minority of players that have been with the RoughRiders since day one of this season. Obviously, turnover is a part of any year on a minor league baseball team, but can you think to a time with another team, either in the Reds organization or somewhere else along your baseball career, where there's been this much of a change in the roster over the course of a season?
Not even close, I don't think. Yeah, usually, you'll see, I don't know, I want to guess like 5 or 6 guys throughout the season get moved up when I was with the Reds. But yeah, there's a lot of guys that have moved around for sure. And I like my roommates, for example, like I've had my apartment, every single guy that was there at the beginning of the year has left. And I've had I want to say 7 different roommates come in.
Looking at the chemistry on this team, has it really changed over the course of the season in spite of all the roster upheaval, or is this a pretty consistent bunch?
Yeah, I think it's pretty consistent. There's obviously really good chemistry the first half, and I'd say it kind of brought in some new faces to the organization. I think the team got a little bit older, but still mesh really well. So it's a really good group.
As we wind down here, Kyle, one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, I saw that you have a pretty cool experience, baseball related, and yet not professionally. You were a member of the 2011 gold medal winning team for Team Canada in the Pan Am Games that year. Talk about the experience of winning a gold medal. What was that like?
Yeah, that was the coolest baseball experience I've ever been a part of, especially with a team, because we had a tough time even fielding a team because it was everyone, it was the off season. It's like September and October and November when we played those tournaments in 2011, and everyone, just wants to be home. But the biggest factor, like why we had trouble getting guys to come out, was because we weren't getting paid. So it's a bunch of guys that literally are just playing the game because of the jersey, the Team Canada jersey, and they want to represent Canada. And obviously, it's you get to go out of the country and kind of experience a different place. But it was just super cool to be a part of, because you don't really see that much of a. It's not like I haven't really been a part of that kind of a team in professional baseball. Like a lot of really, like the team was managed. We had a really good manager, but he really just let the veterans of the team, teach the younger guys. And the veterans came up with the game plan every day, and it was just like as a pitching staff, we're not going to walk guys and give up free outs. And the hitters, they're going to battle. They're going to make the pitchers throw a lot of pitches, and eventually it paid off. We weren't even close to the best team in the tournament. Like the Cubans were 10 times better than us. The Americans who ended up beating in the gold medal game were quite a bit better than us, and we just I think we wanted it more, and it was pretty cool.
It sounds like you really captured lightning in a bottle there. For you personally, was there a signature moment in the tournament that stands out for you in terms of how you played?
In terms of how I played, I threw really well. I pitched against Venezuela twice and got the win both times. But it wasn't really an individual thing. That's not really what I took out of the tournament. It was just being a part of that team and celebrating afterwards, and having a gold medal. That was the big thing.
Proudly displayed, I'm sure. Kyle, thanks so much for reliving what sounds like a really, really fun off-season, winning the Pan Am Games in 2011, and also for sharing some thoughts on the course of the season. It's been great to have you around the clubhouse, and we're looking forward to seeing what this team can do down the final month of the season. Thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, he's Kyle Lotzkar. We're back in a moment on the RoughRiders Baseball Network.